나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 교 Hi everyone, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Good to see you here. I hope this video, this podcast, finds you in good health and secure. And if not, let's change that. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, today I'm going to talk about a subject I've talked about before, but I think I'm going to lend a little different insight to it this time, based on scholarship, based on your understanding of the method of Buddhist teachings. And it's sometimes a touchy subject for people. It's not for me because there's only one way to think about it. And the sooner you make up your mind about it, the easier your Buddhist study will become. I talk sometimes about cultural bias. We know what cultural bias is in our day and time, right? Sometimes the bias is political. Sometimes the bias is sexual orientation or relationship. A lot of these things are societal differences of opinion. But I want to go deeper than that. I'm talking about cultural biases that are ingrained in the culture. And it's very hard to see that sometimes. Where you will find it is in all the media you consume, even before the internet, television, programs that are written by a group of writers that have the onus on top of their storytelling to represent certain truths, certain accepted norms, and even commercial pressures. We want to make our sponsor, Ajax, come out shining in this. Today we watch movies, and what part of the story is so important when we're watching some events occur that the camera has to shift to the front badge on a vehicle and linger for a moment so that we can ingest that that's a Mercedes or a Ford or a whatever. And then all of a sudden we realize as we go through the action-adventure movie that every single truck that they drive is a Chevrolet or a GMC or what have you. This is marketing, right? But it's also, it's subtle. It's more subtle than that. It's implanting ideas. It's getting you to think a certain way, right? And even in color, right? Why does every black guy who's a big old drug dealer who shows up in a movie driving a Cadillac? I mean, it's disgusting when you think about it, right? But these are inculcated forms of bias, okay? Now, please don't take issue with me for something that exists in our society. Moving on. Try to put your mind into the average human person living, and we're talking 500 years before Christ here, in India, whose culture is very much developed from thousands of years of Vedic type thinking. The Vedic Some will call it scriptures. Some will call it texts. Some will call it teachings. All of that is a bias as well. But as given, these are written relics that describe the forces of the cosmos. And whether you call that archaeology, anthropology, science, or religion, I'll leave that to you. The basic thing I want to point out is that these texts represent forces of nature as huge as the cosmos itself, and in opposition to that cosmos, an earthly cosmological influence. Okay? And in this drama between the heavens and the earth, the ether and the earth, whatever terminology, again, a subject of bias. Even Einstein had to deal with that. Ether, I mean. These deities, gods, powers, they all could form or take form as whatever influence they needed to be. These deities could come in the form of an elephant or a human or a troublemaker or a whatever. You see, the Indian continent, all the way to present day, still has this cultural mysticism about these numerous gods, and they're more numerous than you think because they all can take various forms as they desire in certain events, parties, funerals, what have you. They all appear in different ways, and many of them are themselves conceptually of both sexes. Shiva Shakti, right? So, one more thing to add on top of that huge circus of a mess. If you understood it intellectually, you could see that these were all fanciful ways of depicting certain ways of being, certain states of mind, certain influences in life. But the only people who had privy to that kind of thinking were the very elite educated class. And remember that India, to this day, is separated in a caste system. You must appreciate this truly. We don't know anything like this in the West. Oh yeah, we have culture wars and we have class war and we have... Yes, we do. But that's not nearly as finite or rigid as the caste system. Think of what your great-great-grandparents did to survive. That's only a couple of generations back, right? You should have access to that kind of information. If not, just go back to your grandparents. What did your grandfather do to subsist? Did your grandmother work, or was she just a homebody? A homemaker. And that's a big job. I'm not trying to qualify. I'm just saying, if you know what your grandfather did, picture that the only opportunity you would have in your life today is exactly the same as what your grandfather did or your great-great-grandfather did, if you're a man. If you're a woman, you don't even play in that garden. If you're a woman, you support the man who does that for a living, and you control the home. That is your lot in life, no matter what caste you're in. Sorry, girls. That's just the way it is. Politically, personally, culturally, societally, medically, that's where you fit. Period. You can't pass a test and jump one. To this day. So understand, this kind of structured society has a way of informing the way you think, right? Why wouldn't it? With all the strictures we have in the United States now, all of the Constitution going out the window and things happening now, very authoritarian, bordering on fascism, Americans still think this is the land of the free. Well, hello, it's not. But you can't convince an American of that, right? They have this seared into their brains. That's bias. Now, think back again to this Hindu, this Indian family of almost 3,000 years ago. Their idea of karma was much more like what we in the West would call destiny, sort of, within the confines of their caste. They already knew some of their destiny. I'm never going to be anything other than my great-great-great-great-grandfather was. Or woman, you're woman. You support whatever he does. That's your only value, by the way. You're not an independent entity. So karma was something that the Brahmin class, this on high, in charge of language and reading and writing and all of that, that's their domain, would schedule a visit to your home once in a great while, and there's a lot of Indians, so these visits didn't happen daily. And they would come and have a consultation with you. They might have a ceremony first, or they may just drop in, scheduled, very scheduled, to prepare the family to learn its karma. And the Brahmins would dole out, this is how your life is going to be. This is how your life is going to be. I mean, they didn't have to think very hard. It was already scripted by the caste system. But they would come and bless it. And they would tell you, George, this is your karma. This is how your life is going to move forward. We've been studying you, and this is how it's going to go for you. And then the Brahmins would leave, one or a group or whatever, they'd take off. And now they were fully informed on what their expectations were for this family. And this family felt like, okay, so let's set about doing that. What kind of mindset do you think those people would have? Certainly not looking for a way out. That's ceiling. No way out. Certainly not looking for a different way forward. Even if they did, it was quite quelled, kind of put down. Don't be such a dreamer. You're causing this family trouble. Right? And then along comes Buddha. Sorry. I'm a little off today. But seriously, along comes Siddhartha Gautama, a freaking prince who's in a caste that's really, depending on which way he goes, either ruler or ascetic Brahmin. He's the only one that his caste kind of shifts around. He can be a great ruler, but that ruler will have to listen to the same Brahmins. So in a way you could say they're subservient to the Brahmins. But those rulers make sure the Brahmins are protected. So they're equatable. And if you're of the ruling class like Prince Siddhartha, and you decide enough of this lap of luxury and human control and politic and blah, 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 imbued by the gods. I'm going to seek a higher path, and I'm going to become a monk, a Brahmin. I'm going to study under Brahmin and get to the root of what this life is. Big question. Bigger than caste. Right? So this is what Shakyamuni does. Shakyamuni means great sage of the Shakya clan. Prince turned to monk. Shakyamuni. From Shakya comes great monk. Right? And after 6 or 7 years of nearly dying with his practices to get this answer he was looking for, and you all know the story, he rediscovers what's really going on in this cosmology of Hinduism and every form of Vedic, so on and so forth, and there's lots. But it's all magical and mystical, and he goes, whoa! All of that is just so... You're not seeing the forest for the trees. We have all of this magical, mysticism, and it's just... You have to push that aside. It's so clear. Okay, what's so clear? He starts telling people. They look at him like, what? So he goes, oh, right. You can't even think this way. Let me back off. And then he starts into his teachings. He starts into his teachings at a very base level. And he plans on building his teaching over time to bring people into this idea that he's seen very, very clearly. And he starts to teach about how the mind works. Sorry, itchy head. How the mind works. Not the brain, but the mind. And he has to talk about the mind because that's where all these little floating fairies are in the society. They're in the mind. You can't find them in the organs of the body. How are you thinking about yourself? Have you ever thought about that? Or do you just do as you're told by the convenient Brahmanists? Because you're just a tool, an organism to be guided? Life is bigger than that, my friends. And this thing that we call karma, it's not assigned to you by some imbued cult. It's something you create. What? Yeah. Karma is something you create with your mind, of your mind. Your mind is created by your karma. Your karma is created by your mind. The two are dovetailed because they are instantiated moment to moment. Every moment you think a certain way, you follow that way with your body and mind. If you alter the way you think about something, your mind and your body will be influenced. They will go differently into that next moment. I can control karma? No, it's not that you can control karma. That's where karma comes from. You. Some people wanted to kill him for saying that. This was radical thinking. But enough people were interested and went, I have that kind of power? You know what? I think I do. I think you're right. And he started to get students, followers. Wanted to know more. And the more he talked about the mind and dissecting the way that it works and showing people, if you think this way, let me tell you a story. This and this and this. It's a fable or an analogy of the burning house or what have you. He would get them to open their minds. Yeah, I get that that's how our heads work. Wow, I never thought of that before. Very empowering and scary. Is this how it always is? Well, Buddha has an answer for that, right? This is a type of energy that happens, a thing that happens while you're human. Oh, wow. Well, what if I'm a cow? What if I'm a raven? Oh, slow down, slow down, slow down. Everything works this way. You mean a cow affects the way it moves through life? Yeah, but don't get off track. Right? Can you see this conversation in some form? It says, look, all of this reality that you think you're experiencing, we'll call this samsara. This is the container of all phenomena. Sentient, non-sentient, doesn't matter. This is how everything works. There's energy and it's influenced. Life affirming, life unaffirming. We can call life affirming good, unlife affirming evil. We can talk about the different degrees of bad, degrees of good, because I need to address your cultural bias. It's all over the place with these magical, mystical things. But somehow, I'm going to get you to rein all of these things to understand they're all happening here in your mind. They're not actual things. And this was a long process. Part of that karmic equation was understanding that here, in this samsaric reality, the samsaric experience, we are going through the cycle of birth and death. Right? Every moment a thought appears, it's born, it exists, it changes, it decays, and it goes away. Next moment, next moment, next moment. It's a cycle. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. But it occurs, don't forget, in samsara. What happens when you die? You're no longer in samsara. You cease to exist because you only exist in samsara, this conditioned experience. A lot of people have trouble getting this. Back then and today. You hear scholars talk about Buddhism, and while some form of Buddhisms believe in repetitive lives or reincarnation, bull crap. There is no Buddhism in the world that believes in that. If they believe in reincarnation, they are not Buddhist. It's that simple, folks. But look, I'm not going to carry a sign and walk the world going, you ain't Buddhist because you believe in multiple lifetimes. It's a stupid cause. A better cause is to teach Buddhism correctly. And much as I hate to see it, some people need to come to the correct teachings through whatever way they need to get to it. But one surefire way to lose the correct teaching is to stop promoting it. Stop telling people clearly what Shakyamuni taught. Nichiren was obsessed with this. So was Dengyo and Tendai and Miaolo and Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu and on and on and on. There have been great scholars throughout time whose mark has been, get this right, not all that other crap. That's all cultural bias. It happened in India, certainly. I mean, Buddhism disappeared from India because they were so inculcated in the way they thought, and still in many ways today. China, they already had systems of Confucianism for how to behave and Taoism for how to know oneself in the universe. They were covered. The only reason Buddhism grew so well in China with scholarship is because it was intriguing as heck that Buddhism brought terminologies and concepts that they hadn't even considered. But those concepts dovetailed into what they understood from Taoism and Confucianism so well that they started mixing and matching. And that too was a cultural bias. Through it all, Shakyamuni's teachings are so right on the money. They just come through. And it happened again in Korea and in Japan and in Burma. Burma's still going through great upheavals because they haven't come to full Mahayana realization yet. They're still that far behind. They're practicing some form of Buddhism, early Buddhism, but they're still wrestling with self and ego and, Vietnam with the Theravada. Priests lighting themselves on fire. Oh my! If Shakyamuni would see that today, I don't think he'd handle it very well. I have videos about that if you want to look that up. Monk on Fire or Fire and Monks or The Burning Monk, I think is the video's title. Anyway, you can use the search criteria to get to it. There is so much misinformation. And I just want you to appreciate that this didn't happen overnight. This misinformation, misunderstanding has been going on since the first day Shakyamuni Buddha started talking about enlightenment. Day one. Got a lot of confused looks. So it's no surprise that we're still stuck with that. We humans, we get stuck early on, right? Remember, I talked about recently, it takes an incredibly long time to prepare a human for existence on its own. You look at any species, and within a month, that kid's got to do or die. The parents, if you will, of that kid, a baby bear, a baby frog, you name it. They don't have a whole lot of time to waste on teaching you how to survive, how to feed yourself, how to prepare. But humans, oh my, years and years, and sometimes into 20, 30 years, and a human still doesn't get how to just keep themselves fed. It's ridiculous how long it takes to get a human to be independent, if we ever are. Right? Because we're all interdependent. And guess what? Dependent origination is a teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha. He understood this. The reason I bring it up is because this is how these mythologies just persist. Because when you're 5 years old, the thought of Santa, even though it's starting to disintegrate a little bit, you're still well invested in it. And if you have a powerfully magical thinking, religious upbringing, those kinds of thoughts are comforting. You're used to them. It's comforting to know with that kind of cultural depth that there's an angel on your shoulder watching out for you. Right? And a bad angel on the other shoulder whispering naughty things. It's easy and it's comfortable because it kind of relieves you of being completely responsible for your actions. But there's no such thing in Buddhism. You're responsible. Even if you want to get the protection of the cosmic forces, Buddhist gods, right? It's you that achieves enough forthrightness and correct practice that the universe engages with you. Yeah, with that kind of knowledge, now read sutras, now read Gosho. And you start to get it. Oh yeah, it's all this flowery talk, but there's a basis to that flowery talk. And it's personal responsibility, personal action, attitude, intent. What are you doing? Not, what is this thing? I've said it before. It's something like you don't exist as a part of life. Life exists for you. You are the one driving the ship. You want to know what your karma is? Look at where your life is. If you don't like where your life is, change your karma. How do you change your karma? Chant. Connect with your higher self, your most potential, your clear mind of Buddha, your clarity. Your life will change. Your karma will change. It will be influenced. It will redirect, even at levels you don't even know. Because we are the momentum of our karma. And with every thought, every action, every deed, we instantiate karma, energy. We move our life this way or that, depending on everything we do in each and every moment. It's very strict, isn't it? But if you think on it, you'll realize how true that is. It's hard to capture our mind in every single moment. But certainly we can see trends. We talk about them all the time. Why do I always end up in this position? Why do these kind of people, what do these people want with me? It's not what they want with you. It's that you're attracting them. Whoa, what? Yeah. If those kind of people or that kind of person or this kind of situation keeps popping up in your life, don't look at it critically and blame it. You're the one drawing it to you. And if you don't understand why, you probably do, but there's aspects of it you may not. Take it to Guanzan. Take it to your Buddha wisdom. Use your mandala. Look it square in the myoho. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I want this to change. Make it so. You're not talking to some mystical jewel that's going to go, okay, wish number 13, going to grant it. No, you're talking to your Buddha. Yeah, sometimes we need a good talking to ourselves, because that's how we make causes with thoughts, words, and our deed, our action is firmly ensconced in front of the mandala of the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. And we're using it as a device to enliven, invoke, awaken our Buddha, our clear-seeing mind. Influence this life energy, this momentum, in the way that I want, in the way that is better, in the way that is best, that most expresses the life-affirming aspects of my life. Let me move forward unhindered and amazed. We could wrap all kinds of words around this, but nowhere in that is there another life. Nowhere in that is, I might be a cow or a moon or... I hope the more you study this, the more it becomes obvious how infantile and silly that is. It simply isn't Buddhism. But in the early teachings, Shakyamuni was talking to people who only understood their experience of the world through those terms. So he had to use stories about those things to gradually move their reference point so that they could evolve their thinking past that, past Santa Claus. Right? There is no such, I'm going to make this statement, and I don't like making it. There is no such thing as reincarnation in Buddhism, period. No eternal life, no soul, no self. That's all construct of this samsaric sphere of experience. And if it's a construct of samsara, then by gosh, we can affect that construct, and it's up to us to do it. It's up to you to enliven your Buddhahood. I can't go, oh, here's a prescription, take 2 Buddhas a day. That sounded so silly. But seriously, it's that simple. Just do it. It's yours. You really have no complaints from this day forward. Because anything that's making you sad or that's getting you in trouble or whatever, look within. How did we get here? And more to the point, you now have this perfect tool and method, mandala chanting, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, and it will change. Bigly or smallly, in our parlance of the day, it will change because you're changing it. Not because something magical is happening. It's because you're driving, you're taking control. Congratulations, you're no longer in the trunk or the passenger seat or the back seat or dragging behind on the bumper. You're driving. So drive better. That's it. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tolerating my silly teaching style. But I hope it gave you some hope too. Some insight into how this practice works, how to practice, the kind of mindset you need to practice. Please be convinced there is no other way. There's a lot of talk and a lot of magic out there. But if it worked, we wouldn't be in the world we're in. Right? I love you guys. I love that you listen to this. I love that you show up. That's so amazing and courageous. This is why I always tell you how proud I am of you. Because this stuff is real. Right? Thank you. Thank you for your contributions as well. Because without them, I couldn't do any of this. And I would feel very sad. You have no idea how warming it is to my very state of being to know that you're out there listening. This is our Sangha. So I want to hear from you. I want to read your comments, send emails. I don't know how to help you unless you tell me what you need, right? And that helps me to grow too. So thank you again. Take care of your health, because without it, there is no Sangha. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself some slack. But also, Be stern with yourself. I got to make time for this. This is everything. And everything is you, old Motown. You are everything, and everything is you. Wow, what a Buddhist song, huh? With that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. Again, don't forget to download the podcast. If you find those helpful, you can get them anywhere under the title of The Buddhahood Podcast. And I will see you soon with another. Bye for now. Hey, thank you for being here. Did you know there's a third way you can help support this channel? And it won't cost you a cent. Yep. If you are not able to be a patron on Patreon or use the PayPal me at .com at Sifu Sylvain because you don't have the financial fortune to help support this channel right now, you, as I say, always support this channel by watching, but you can also help us grow so that maybe one day we can get over 10,000 subscribers and YouTube will grace us with monetization. It's not a lot, but if you can make sure you're subscribed and share a video like a simple one, just go into the search criteria and type monk and you'll have a video that'll come up that's been up for years about what is a monk. You know, it's called monk, who, how, where, something like that. That might be a great introduction to somebody who doesn't understand what a monk is to begin with. It's a tool. Use this channel as a tool to help you with your bodhisattva practice, and share a video to somebody who you think, oh, I know somebody who'll benefit from watching this. And in that way, you can help us grow. And that's a really good way to help your practice along as well. So just wanted to drop that in on you, in case that's something that you might find useful. Take care of yourself again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.